What is going on, everybody? Hello, here I am again. You know me, it's your boy Cutty Shaw. This is Conversations with Cutty Shalom Magazine. And I'm excited today because we're going to learn you today about something, some little hip hop. So introduce yourself, man.
My name is Shamello Durant from Hempstead, Long Island. Music producer, humanitarian, and I am hip hop.
Hip hop. We're going to learn you today. Then y'all got y'all books, y'all got your notepads. Let's get it going. So today we're going to talk about some of everything, and we just going to rock it on. Like, man, because I started here when I first started. I just fell into you. You know what I mean? And like, wait a minute. Well, I ain't know this. You know what I mean? I consider myself somewhat of a hip hop historian. Why wasn't I saying your name off your lips, man? How you get going in all this before we get to the meat of the matter?
Well, I tell you like this. I've been producing records for 30 years. Mm-hmm. 30 years. I had the wonderful fortune to have grown up in Hempstead, Long Island, and my parents' house happened to be 5 blocks away from where Public Enemy spawned their revolution at.
Okay.
They were DJs in our neighborhood. They called themselves Spectrum City, and highly respected in Long Island. And you always knew that these guys were going to be special. You may not have known that they were going to be Public Enemy, but you knew just the way their business acumen and how they moved, that they were special individuals from our community. So I revered them, and they also were a conduit to underground radio stations, which were very instrumental in breaking not only Long Island, but hip hop in general for Long Island. You know, people like DMC and these other guys would come to these stations, like WBAU was one of them, which through Adelphi University. Chuck D went to Adelphi University. And also Hofstra University had a radio station, WRHU, which also had a hip hop show on it. And that's one thing I learned early, that college radio is basically fertile soil when you're developing cultural revolution. So I watched these guys, and I would stand in front of the studio drinking my 40s saying, man, one day I'm gonna get with these dudes. One day I'm gonna get with these. Because luckily, the place where we used to get our 40s at and our chicken wings and our fried rice was right across the street from the studio. So we'd see them coming in and going and bringing their equipment in and, you know, say what's up and everything like that. And then finally, I got a chance to sneak into that building. A friend of mine who went to high school with, Paul Shabazz, who I credit with, you know, really as a catalyst for everything that I ever became in musically. He had an independent label, and he had a studio not affiliated with those guys, but in the basement of where their studio was. It was a building called 510 South Franklin. And this building was fertile soil for hip hop. A lot of artistry came out of it. Third Base worked out of there. Public Enemy worked out of there. Son of Berserk worked out of there. And the list goes on. The Bomb Squad worked with every Ice Cube, most noted for really opening the doors at that place when he did his solo album. Now, none of this has anything to do with me, or actually it does, because these are the things that influenced me, and some of the projects that I was able to assist with. Because when I came in there, I was the guy sweeping the floor. I'm sorting records, but I'm a fly on the wall, and I'm hearing all these conversations and what they're doing and how they're plotting. So I'm learning from these geniuses, and I'm keeping my mouth shut.
Okay.
I'm not saying anything, but at the same time, I'm also developing my craft, because I came in the game to be a rapper, to be an artist, to be an MC.
Right.
And I thoroughly studied the craft of MCing. I mean, thoroughly, as if it was a college course, a master's college course. And once I got in the building, one of my first introductions was to Busta Rhymes and Charlie Brown and Dinko D. They were kind of like, they had already been in the building, and Chuck and them were already nurturing what was to become the leaders of the new school.
Exactly.
I wanted in.
Brown.
And the guy who brought me in, he said, well, you know, I'm an R&B dude. If you really want to come in here and do what you do, I support it because I love what you do. But I don't know if my ear has that sensibility that these guys have, because they're submersed in the culture. They're the prodigies of what we have here, and we want to and we're nurturing them. If they like you, it's a no-brainer for me to work with you, because I already like what you do.
Okay.
So I met those guys, and we immediately, our first 10 minutes, we started jousting. Doing a beat, we started jousting and going back and forth. I was highly impressed with what they were doing. Now, mind you, I'm a one-man army because it's three of them, it's
Right.
me. And it was kind of an impromptu, let's call it, I don't want to call it a battle, but it was a test of wits.
Yeah.
And from that day,
sparring, if you will.
Sparring, absolutely. And from that day forward, we've had nothing but the utmost respect for each other and admiration for each other's talents. As a matter of fact, fast forward 30 years now, me and Dinko have a single that we're releasing now called Bring the Muscle Out. So those guys are still some of my greatest friends. And even if we rewind a little bit, I was fortunate enough to produce Put Your Hands Where My Eyes Can See for Busta 10 years after that initial meeting. Right. So, they were great compatriots to meet along the way, and we pushed each other, we motivated each other, and we celebrated each other. And that's what Public Enemy and the Bomb Squad, that's what they taught us to do. And that's what they asked us to teach the next generation every step of the way. And they also admonished that we teach the next generation to teach the generation after them. So this is what my career has been based on, is pushing each other up and using a little bit of brotherly love and sisterly love to keep our talents in the right places and in safe places.
Yes. And speaking of, we're going to get to multi-platinum producer. I want to say something because you said DMC. And I know this is close to your heart. I just know it is. How do you feel about them catching the guys that killed Jam Master Jay?
KRS-One put it best. He said, if you want to get the best way to get away with murder is to kill a rapper. And by the grace of God, we've been able to get closer to closing this puzzle, which really tilted the trajectory of hip hop, because Run and D weren't as active after we lost Jay. They kind of slowed up their momentum, and that's just creatively. But as far as esoterically as human beings, man, that was a big loss. Jay was a solid dude. We all looked up to him. We all looked up to the whole Run DMC conglomerate and everything that they brought to hip hop and all the revolutionary changes that they introduced to hip hop. So, getting that much closer to solving this riddle, which has puzzled all of us, gives us hope that the other murders that have occurred in our genre, that we can get some closure on those things too, because closure is important. Closure is extremely important.
Yeah, that's very important. It's mental health. But yeah, that's really important. So I had to ask you that because I thought about that when you said DMC.
Absolutely. And those guys, Jay and D and Run, as a matter of fact, I went to high school with Run's wife. So they are very connected to our neighborhood. I'm from Hempstead, Long Island, and they are very, very connected to our neighborhood. And so it's personal for us, as well as all the brothers from Hollis, who I've had a chance to meet, a lot of those dudes from their original camp. And, we're just going to keep praying that justice be done and that we all can rest peacefully knowing that Jay's legacy is preserved with the highest esteem.
Exactly. So, okay, thank you. Now, multi-platinum producer. What did that track?
Me.
Yeah. I'm talking to you, my brother. I'm talking to you. What did that track do for your career?
Wow.
Busta Rhymes track.
Producing Put Your Hands, and I got to give credit to my partners, Buddha Monroe. Could not have done it without him. My other partner, Epitome. The good thing that I've learned about this hip hop, and I learned this from the Bomb Squad. They're the Bomb Squad. There's a reason why they're a squad. It's because everybody adds piece to the puzzle. Yeah. So I take no full credit for anything without my partners. That record would never, and of course, the voice and the vision of Busta Rhymes solidified that record in the annals of history. Now, what has it done for me? I had been producing records before Put Your Hands came out.
Right, yeah.
I didn't produce, but I wrote 3 songs on BellBivDevoe's Poison album. So I had got a chance to see some exciting things. Like, oh wow, this industry is dope. I had money. I had the hip hop kit, meaning the girls' cars, cribs, all that cool stuff that we thought was cool, that we didn't know what to do with when we were in our 20s. At least I didn't. You know, and then so it was a good evolution. And then fast forward 10 years after BellBivDevoe, or 7 years after that, me and Busta reunited to do this record. And it changed everything, my perspective on everything. One, I had already gotten out of the business and I was working in a restaurant as a waiter. I had spent all my money. I had run the course. I didn't plan well. There was, no remnants of the fruit that I had created. Wow. So I had to press reset, and it was tough, but it was actually the best thing that could happen to me, because I learned a simple word called humility.
Right.
And as a result of that, it made me appreciate a lot better the blessings that were coming my way. So when that record did come, I will admit I was a pessimist, because I was already felt dejected. The business, I was out of it. I'm in the restaurant. I'm making decent money in the restaurant. I'm paying my bills. I'm living a lifestyle. I want to call it, for lack of a better term, I was a civilian, and it was cool. No problems. Still had a good time. But when that record happened, and by chance, because I was connected to Busta, we played it for his road manager, who was also a good friend of ours, and he would come by the house. He basically had his own key, would come by the house, and just, because I always was tapping away, even as I was working in the restaurant, it was part of me, one thing about being hip hop is that no matter what you do, it's still hip hop. If I'm working in a restaurant, I'm still hip hop.
Exactly.
If I was doing construction, I'm still hip hop. So I still have my machines, and I'm still tapping away and still trying to come up with things that would keep me inspired. And me and my roommate Buddha and Epitome, we one night, the stars aligned, and this record, we were able to find a sample from my mother's record collection, and Buddha, who's a technical genius, kind of roped together all the technicalities. I kind of used I have a quirky kind of brain when it comes to creating stuff, so I added my elements to the mix, and Epitome made sure the atmosphere was right, and we came up with that. And when it came out, I was excited because people were going crazy when we first heard it, but then it never stopped. So the first year it came out, we were like, wow, this is good. We did a great record. Everybody's responding to it. People love it. Thank you, Lord. Then the following year, oh, wow, this is a great record. Everybody's responding to it. It's been a year now. People are still playing. Thank you, Lord. Then it was 5 years later. It was like, oh my goodness, we did a great record. People are responding to it. Thank you, Lord. 10 years. Now it's 20 years. 97, 2007. It's about 23 years. Yeah, something like that. And
today, put it on. Boom, boom,
I go in the clubs now. DJs still play it. And I'm in the clubs with the millennials. I'm in the corner though, sipping on a Moscow Mule or something, just observing. I can't do some of these new steps anymore. Right. But the thing about it is, I watch how they respond to it. Yeah. And that record, they still respond to it like it just came out in 1997. Yeah. And I give all praise to God on that. And now back to your question, because I didn't answer your question. What has it done for me? It's become my passport, because now all those people who were like, yeah, we'll get back to you. I said, if I kind of solicit some work or just want to talk to people about some ideas that I have, and they're like, oh, that sounds cool. We'll get back to you. So all right, that's cool, man. And then I'm like, oh yeah, and I allude to the fact that I don't know if you heard some of my work, but I did Put Your Hands in My Eyes Can See and Poison. And they say, wait, hold on, what'd you say? I said, yeah, I did, Put Your Hands in My Eyes Can See for Busta. You did what?
Right.
And they're like, wait, hold on a second. Let's give me 1 second. Come back in. I want to talk to you about something.
Right.
So it kind of reopened all those doors that were kind of closed. And it allows me to have new relationships and network with people I didn't really have a chance to get close to. That record has given me credibility that I didn't have. I I'd had some credibility with BellBivDevoe, some credibility with working with the Bomb Squad, but that record really was a stamp of approval that says, yo.
Yeah. So look, the Mob Deeps and stuff wasn't doing that?
Just like you had no idea who I was, I never was a producer who was face front. I would puff up the artists that I worked with and disappear.
Yeah, I get it.
I like the simple life. I like flossy, have fun stuff.
Yeah.
But I kind of just stayed always in the shadows.
Yeah,
and I
still want to walk around.
Watching my work blossom. But Put Your Hands, even without me even trying, it kind of put me in people's faces, and the people who discovered who I was opened doors for me and introduced me to a side of the business that I had no idea existed. You know, and then my peers who before that point were my heroes, they're still my heroes, but now they became more of my peers. And even though I had done platinum records and everything before that, it was like, oh, that's that dude over there. He worked for somebody, does something. Nobody ever knew what I did. They would see me at every event. They'd see me at every party. They'd see me with the cool kids, you know, and I knew all the cool kids. And, you know, you'd see me, you know, I would Busta, Petey Pablo, a New Guru, you know, it's a long list. I don't want to name drop, but all these different people that I got a chance to be around. It was exciting. I am hip hop, so I enjoyed that network. But Put Your Hands just kind of let people, or it seemed like once I did that record, people perceived me and received me in a different way. And it was a good thing for me because I didn't have to, I always work hard, but I didn't have to push as hard to get those connections to those people I wanted to connect to. You know, so I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful for that because fast forward to this 23rd year of this record being out, I need that now. You know, I'm an elder statesman. I consider myself an elder statesman now. And just to have credibility with some of this younger crop and to be able to speak to them and share my experience with them, you know, they are on their Google culture. So they're like, who is this dude? I don't want to hear what he got to say. But then they Google me when I walk out the room and they're like, yo, I just checked your net worth. I just checked it in. I just, you know, so, and then, you know, it's a different conversation at that point, you know. I'm thankful for it because now it allows me to still be creative and on this part of the journey, creating is a joy. I love it. I'm doing the things that I want to do now.
Exactly.
You know, I was in the right places at the right times, thanks to divine intervention. And now I have I don't want to call it the luxury because you lose it as quick as you get it. You can't take things for granted today because what you've been granted can always be taken away. Okay. So I don't take it for granted, but
be thankful for it. You can be happy. You can, you know, you can flaunt a little bit. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. But I you know, and it's been a joy, and I'm riding the wave. It's like a roller coaster, though. It goes up, goes down, and COVID has definitely made us become more creative with how we present material and what we do, and we're still learning this whole process, given the pandemic and the climate of our society right now. You know, you know, it's always power to the people.
Power to the people. So with that said, you know, I got a lot more to talk about. So this is going to lend me to saying tomorrow or the next day, can we get back on here, do a part 2? Would that be dope? Because I got, you know, I got a lot to talk about with that. I think people need to know about you, and I know you want to get it out. I know you want to regurgitate. You got to get it out.
Absolutely. I look forward to it. And I'm thankful to you for allowing me to even expand and expound on your platform.
Yes, hey, anytime, brother, man. You're my brother. Don't you know? I ain't gonna do the high note, y'all. You
got skills. I ain't gonna tell nobody, but you got some skills over there. You know.
That's raw. That's still raw. It's still raw right there.
That's all good, but don't forget.
Yes, always matters. Black lives.
You're tuned in to Conversations with my man Cutty, Conversations with Cutty. And I am yours truly, Shamello Fellow, make the girl say hello, better known as Shamello Durant. Put your hands where my eyes can see. You feel me?
I feel you.